Thanks for tuning in. My name is Reed Scrivener. I'm a senior business planner in cloud and enterprise marketing. And today we're going to show you an exact walkthrough of how a customer will go and purchase an Azure Reserve VM instance within the Azure portal. We'll also highlight some important features for customers where they can do an exchange, cancel, how they can change the assignment of that reserved instance during the term, and most importantly, how customers can verify that they're maximizing the cost savings and utilizing those reserved instances purchased in the right way for their organization. Now, this is a new process for customers. They may engage you, they may engage partners to help them walk through this process. Use this video as a resource to feel confident about having this discussion with customers. So let's dive in. Let's take a look at how to purchase an RI in the Azure portal. First, I'll start from an empty dashboard. I'll go ahead and I'll click the New button, and in the search field, I'll search for Reserved VM Instance. That'll populate. I'll go ahead and select Reserved VM Instance, and now I'm ready to start. So to create a Reserved VM, I'll hit the Create button, and there's a few fields we'll need to fill in to actually get this Reserved VM instance created. Let's go through them one at a time. First, I can enter a name for my reserved instance. Next, I'll choose a subscription. Now, in order for a customer to purchase an RI, they need to be an owner on at least one enterprise agreement or pay-as-you-go subscription. Now, this next option allows you to set the scope of your Reserved VM instance. If you choose Shared, the cost savings of your RI will be applied to matching virtual machines across any subscription within the same enrollment or account as the subscription chosen above. If you choose Single, instead, the cost savings will then only be applied to the RI if it's running within that individual subscription. This is a differentiator for us. This is the feature that we call assignment. Now, the next two fields should be matched to either virtual machines that you're currently running today or virtual machines that you plan to deploy in the very near future. In this case, I have a few D2 v3 virtual machines deployed in US East 2, so I'm going to go ahead and select those parameters to match. Now, we have options for customers as well in terms of how long these reserved instances will go for. They can choose a 1-year or a 3-year term. I know 3-year terms offers the maximum cost savings, so I'm going to go ahead and choose 3 years. Finally, the quantity. I'm consistently running at least 5 of these virtual machines that match the location and the size that we chose above, so that's the quantity I'm going to use for my reservation. Once I have all of these fields entered, I can then click the Calculate Cost button to see what the price will be for this RI purchase. Now, in addition to the RI price, we'll also calculate the estimated savings for your subscription based on the difference between the RI price and your own pay-as-you-go rates. In this case, 60%. Huge savings. I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm going to go ahead and hit the Purchase button and start the process for my reserved instance. Now, Azure will validate all the fields that I've entered. It will also validate that I have the right permissions to make this purchase. In this case, everything looks good, so my reservation was successfully submitted. In this same view, I can also view a summary of my new RI. I also have this link where I can go to the RI itself. And in that view, I can go and I can see the properties for the RI, such as the name, the status, the scope, and even more. Now, at first, once I hit purchase, the RI will be in a creating state for a short amount of time, but it soon moves to a succeeded state, which means it's available to apply to my environment. Now, after a few days, if we go back and take a look at this same screen, we'll get utilization information for the reserved instance. You can see that via the utilization graph, I'm currently getting the maximum benefit out of my RI by having all 5 of those matching VMs deployed. You'll notice that we haven't actually looked at a virtual machine yet. Unlike the Azure Hybrid benefit, you don't need to apply the reservation to a specific virtual machine. Instead, behind the scenes, Azure automatically matches your reservation to as many eligible virtual machines as possible, so you're always getting the maximum cost savings without any additional effort. As you may have noticed, the scope of this reservation is shared, again, at the enrollment level, so all subscriptions can benefit. But we also have the option to go in and change that at any time during the term. To do so, I simply go to the configuration option on the left, and I can change the scope of my reserved instance again at any time. In this case, I scope down my RI so that it only applies to a single subscription, and once I've made that change, I go ahead and I click the Save button to submit it. After the operation occurs, my RI now applies only to one of my subscriptions. Now, if customers want to get a view of all of their reservations, you click the More Services option, search for reservations, and select the item that appears. This will show you a list of all reservations you have created, along with the name, status, and a few of the properties of each. You can click on any of these rows, and by doing so, you can view the reservation in more detail. Now, if you're no longer benefiting from your reservation, or you'd like to use the refund feature for any reason, you can use the button simply at the top of the page to open up those features and start a support request. Now, most importantly for customers, the recent acquisition of Cloud for Us gives them additional visibility into how their environment is performing and how they're maximizing cost savings. So in this case, using the Azure portal with Reserve VM instances, we can actually use the Cloud feature to display charts of how we're performing. On this chart, you'll see that I have 50 RIs during the first part of the month. And I actually upped that number to 60 RIs once I noticed I had about 10 pay-as-you-go VMs running. After the increase, the blue bars representing pay-as-you-go dropped down to 0, showing that all of my virtual machines are now covered by reservations. I can also see that near the end of the month, I had a dip in my reserved usage as indicated by the red bars. This lets me know that I wasn't fully utilizing my RIs, so I was actually able to go and spin up more VMs to take full advantage of the reservations I've already made. This is the process and experience that customers are going to walk through not only when they're buying reserved instances, but as they're managing their reserved instance portfolio across their entire compute spend. I hope you have found this useful. Customers may engage you to get some help and some insight into the best way to go about these processes. Again, use this video as a resource to feel confident about having these discussions with customers, and also look to tune into our other video explaining some of these features that we mentioned today and why Azure Reserve VM Instances is the best offer in market. Thanks so much for tuning in.